It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Atlanta Braves. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers wrapping up with Atlanta today. But before we get to the game, we have a personnel move. The Dodgers brought up Austin Barnes, catcher, infielder, was playing in Oklahoma City, and the Dodgers have designated Carl Crawford for assignment. That's kind of a headline story. Dodgers, meanwhile, playing well at home, struggled earlier, but now they've won 6 straight, 9 of the last 11, and they've already won the series against Atlanta. They've beaten them 4 out of 5. Also, the Dodgers have beaten Atlanta 7 out of 8 here at Dodger Stadium. Trying to keep it going, the Dodgers will have Scott Kazmir on the mound with a record of 4-3. Matt Whistler, a young pitcher with Atlanta, originally signed by San Diego out of Bryan, Ohio, and he came to Atlanta in that big deal that sent, among others, Melvin Upton to San Diego along with Craig Kimbrell. Tomorrow, the Colorado Rockies will be here. The Dodgers will send out Mike Bolsinger. Remember, 13 of the 16 games on the schedule are against teams under 500. The only team above would be the San Francisco Giants. So we'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. Day to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, and it is a gorgeous day. No sign of the heat here whatsoever, and could be a good ball game as the Dodgers tangle for the last time with the Atlanta Braves. The Dodgers will lead with their left-hander, Scott Kazmir, who's been pitching very well of late. And by the way, the Dodger pitching has been so good. When they shut out the Braves last night, the Dodgers have 8 shutouts. That's number 1 in the major league. Brian Snitker and his ball club, as he talks to Terry Pendleton, it's a club that's floundering right now, but they have some good young players, and they figure to get through this year, and the experience will make them that much better next year. Here's the lineup. Malik Smith opens up in center field. Chase Darno is the shortstop. Freddie Freeman is at first base. Jeff Francoeur in left field. Nick Markakis in right. Adonis Garcia at third. The veteran catcher, and veteran really means veteran, A.J. Pierzynski. We'll talk about him later on. Second baseman, Kelly Johnson, and the young pitcher, Matt Whistler. Big kid out of Bryan, Ohio. On the mound for the Dodgers, Scott Kazmir with a record of 4-3. Kazmir is making his first career start against the Braves. So the left-hander coming off a beautiful ball game. In fact, in his last 4, he's gone 2-0 with an ERA of just 2.7. And he has done reasonably well here, although he is under 500 with a record of 2-3. So Kazmir allowed 1 hit, 6 innings against a very good Cub team. Let's take a look at the Dodgers with the leather behind him. And you start right away with Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez and Utley on one side, Seager and Kendrick on the other, with Hernandez, Peterson, and Thompson in the outfield, and Grandal behind the plate. One other thought before we actually get to the game itself. The Giants and Cardinals will play at about 5 after 5. The probable pitchers are Jake Peavy and Carlos Martinez. So Malik Smith will start it off. Left-hand batter, runs very, very well. So the Dodgers bring up Kendrick, and he looks to the bench, and they say, yeah, get on the grass. So Kendrick is on the grass, coming up a little bit, but not quite even with the bag is Gonzalez at first. And the first pitch on the way is taken way off the plate. Ball 1, 1-0. So Kazmir, tough act to follow with Kershaw having picked up a victory last night. Scott ready in the 1-0 pitch, and that's down and away, ball 2. The temperature in the ballpark, a beautiful 72 degrees. A very light breeze blowing from left to right, but not much. Kazmir, wide open, stands into the windup, high leg kick, and drops it in there for a strike, and the count 2-1. The plate umpire is Cowboy Joe West. Ramon De Jesus is umpiring at first. Cowboy Joe has had a great career, 39th year as a big league umpire. The next pitch is low, 3-1 the count. Joe introducing us to the first Dominican umpire to be in the big leagues, and he's at first, Ramon De Jesus. Pitch in for a strike, 3-2 the count. There's young Ramon just starting out. So you had a 39-year veteran bringing along the rookie, just like they do with the players. And the 3-2 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled off. The Braves winning only 6 games so far this year at home. They're 6 games under on the road. They've lost 9 of 12 against Western Division teams. So you understand they're 16.5 games behind Washington. 3-2 pitch on the way. Kazmir delivers it, slap foul off third, out of play, and the count stays 3-2. Malik Smith, that unusual first name, we've told it each time, but in case you weren't there, every member of the family starts the name with an M. His father's Michael. 3-2 pitch on the way, swung on, lifted to left field. Moving over is Hernandez. Kike has to come up now. The ball suddenly died on him, and he made the play. So a fly ball to left, and we have 1 down. Darno coming up. Malik's got the M because his name given by his mother was going to be Alex, and then She wanted to keep the M's going, so he has the unusual name of Malix. Okay, one down. And here's Chase d'Arnaud. He has played short twice and second once. Brothers Travis d'Arnaud, the catcher with the New York Mets, who's been on the DL for quite some time. Chase takes down and away. Ball one. On deck, the big left-hand hitting first baseman, Freddie Freeman. So Freeman tunes up. Kazmir looks down to get the sign. Left-hander ready, and the 1-0 pitch on the way, misses away, ball two. Kazmir works from the third base side of the rubber, and he has a big high kick as he looks in wide open. He'll raise that right leg. Up she goes, and the 2-0 pitch is a ground ball inside third down the line. So d'Arnaud on his way for extra bases, and he goes into second base standing with a double. So with one out, d'Arnaud a double left, and Freddie Freeman coming up. Freeman has always been a very good RBI man with people in scoring position. He's been off his game, however, right now. So Freeman checks in. He is 1 for 5 in the series. He is a good first ball hitter, especially, although most of the time he gets deep in the count. Yesterday, Atlanta, by the way, 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Though with one out in the first inning, they have a man out there and the right guy at the plate who takes a breaking ball for a strike, and the count 0-1. Freeman began the year in the first 8 games going 2 for 25. So he's not really been able to catch up yet. Kazmir ready and comes back. Freeman takes a strike. So Kazmir out in front of him now. No balls and 2 strikes. Freeman's lifetime batting average with runners in scoring position is .309 over the last 5 years. So you would think they have the right man up there. Strike 2 pitch coming up from Kazmir. He double checks Chase d'Arnaud. Now to the hitter, and it's slapped foul down the left field line, carrying to the second level, and a fan makes a great catch up there and gets a round of applause. We're just beginning. Smith a fly ball to left, d'Arnaud double to left, and here's Freeman trying to pick him up. Just the start of the ball game, so pull up a chair and spend Sunday afternoon with us. Strike 2 pitch coming up. Kazmir again looks back at second, works the hitter, and it's fouled the other way, trickling into the Atlanta dugout. Braves, with all of their other problems, have lost 3 in a row. Tough time for Brian Snitker. Wonderful man picking up for Freddie Gonzalez as the new manager. Strike 2 pitch is foul back. Again, to understand the Braves, you have to look at the numbers they put up earlier in the year. First of all, they lost 9 in a row. Then they won 4 in a row. Then they lost 8 in a row. At one stage, they had 2 victories and 20 losses at home. And overall, it was a terrible start for the Braves. 12-34 before the year really got underway. Strike 2 pitch to Freeman is swung on and missed, and down he goes. So the butter and egg man fails to deliver, and with 2 down, Jeff Francoeur will be coming up. To show you how bad the year has been for the Atlanta Braves, you know, before they were the Atlanta Braves, they were the Milwaukee Braves, and before they were the Milwaukee Braves, they were the Boston Braves and the Bees and a few other names. But in 1911, the Boston team won 44 games and lost 107. The pitch to Francoeur is a high drive into right center field and deep. On the dead run, watching it bounce off the wall, is Thompson. The run will score on a long double by Jeff Francoeur. So the Braves get 2 doubles in the first inning and are on the board, leading 1-0. If you're watching on television, you can see that Francoeur went down to get it and bangs it off the wall. No chance for Thompson to catch it. So a double by d'Arnaud, a 2-out double by Francoeur, and the Braves leading 1-0. Just one other note on that bad Braves team way back in the early 1900s. One year they drew 116,000 total for the entire season. Nick Markakis checking in, and he knows Kazmir. He's had a lot of success against him. Kazmir ready and delivers. Slow breaking ball, drops in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Markakis has had a very quiet series, but he's hitting well over .420 against Kazmir in the past. Francoeur at second, a run in. Braves lead 1-0. Trying to snap a couple of streaks here. Strike one pitch on the way is a fastball low, and the count 1-1 strike. Dodgers have had a lot of good luck against the Braves. They've beaten them 7 of the last 8 times. They've won 4 of 5, so they've clinched the series. 1-1 pitch on the way. Kazmir delivers. Little cutter off the plate. 2-1 the count. So Atlanta 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position yesterday. They come right back in the first inning and collect 1. And they have another in scoring position, and Markakis trying to pick him up. Kazmir hands at his sides, reading Grandal. Now the 2-1 pitch coming up. Fastball grounded to the hole and through into left field. Charging the ball is Hernandez. His throw, however, is a bad throw, and the score easily for Francoeur. Kike not playing a lot, and that's the tip-off. His throw towards home was a good 30 feet up along the first baseline. Tough to play when you don't play. So Kike had a chance, but the throw was way off the line. So Markakis gets a base hit to left, and just like that, the Braves are leading 2-0. So the ball club struggling to score runs. Now pick up 2. And here's Adonis Garcia hitting .227. Despite being a right-hand batter, he's really struggled against left-handers. And he takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Give you one idea of the difference between the Dodgers and the Braves. Corey Seager and Trace Thompson together have hit 21 home runs. The entire Braves team has hit 22. Fastball sprayed foul upstairs to the right. 0-2 the count to Adonis Garcia. A.J. Pierzynski on deck, and we were mentioning that he's not only a veteran like Utley and others, but he is truly a veteran, and we'll talk about him if we have a chance now or a little bit later. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Kazmir delivers, bounces it a couple of feet in front of home plate, and the count 1-2. No action. Markakis staying right on the bag at first. 2-0 Atlanta in the first inning. Dave Roberts staring at Kazmir, watching him. Scott's 1-2 pitch coming up. Change up, hit to the hole, and it rolls into left field for a base hit. So a change up which really looked like the apple hanging on the tree. It just sat there. It took a long time to get up there as well. And it was up, and that's all Garcia needed. And he splashes a single to left field. So 2 doubles, 2 singles, and time called, a meeting at the mound. So that gives us a chance to talk about A.J. Pierzynski. And he really is something special. Pierzynski, among other things, is in his 19th year. He's been with 7 ball clubs. He's captured a World Series ring with the Chicago White Sox way back in 2005. But he has caught over 1,900 games. Can you just imagine? 1,900. More than that He has 16,052 career innings that he has caught. He's among catchers with at least 1,500 games caught. His fielding procession is .995. And he collected his 2,000th hit against the Red Sox early in April. So AJ takes the first pitch off the plate. That AJ stands for Anthony John Pierzynski. Born in Bridgehampton, New York, lives in Orlando, Florida. You have to be big to catch those games, and he's big. He's 6'3", a good 225. He'll be 40 years old in December. So a remarkable career for A.J. Pierzynski. The 2-0 pitch on the way, swung on, fouled off third upstairs. If he joined us a little late, Smith flied to left. Darno doubled inside third. Freeman struck out. Francoeur doubled off the base of the right field wall to cash in Darno. Markakis singled home Francoeur, and Garcia now has singled to put runners at first and second. And for Kazmir, a very shaky first inning. He is ready to make his 30th pitch. Tough way to start. So Kazmir pitched exceptionally well against the Cubs the last time out. Shaky here in the first inning today. 2-1 pitch on the way. Left-handed delivers. Pierzynski a little roller to the right side. Utley will get him, and mercifully for Kazmir, that's the last out. However, for the Braves, 2 runs, 4 hits, 2 left, and at the end of a half inning, Atlanta 2 and the Dodgers coming up. Allowing 2 runs, 4 hits. He made 30 pitches, in direct contrast to how well he pitched last time out against the Cubs. But that's the mystery that makes the game so great. Well, we take a look now at Dave Roberts' lineup, and it goes this way. Chase Utley leads off at second base, Corey Seager at short, and Trace Thompson in right. Gonzalez at first, Kendrick at third, Peterson in center, Randall behind the plate, Hernandez in left, and Scott Kazmir on the mound. Dodgers were thinking about perhaps bringing back Scott Van Slyke today, but that hasn't worked. Instead, Kike Hernandez. I think we mentioned earlier, but in case you missed it, the Dodgers made a personnel change today. They brought up Austin Barnes from Oklahoma City, and they assigned Carl Crawford. Meanwhile, young Matt Whistler gets a strike for his first pitch. Another one of the better young pitchers. He's 2-5, but when you look at his ERA, it's 3, and he's lost a couple of tough ones. He's big, and you'll hear from him. Fastball is lifted to left field, but very playable. Francoeur is there to make the catch, and that's that for Utley. We'll take a look now at the Braves defensively, and they look this way. You start off with Freddie Freeman, then Kelly Johnson on the right side, Darno and Garcia on the left, Francoeur, Smith, and Markakis in right, Krasinski behind the plate, and Matt Whistler on the mound. So with one down, here's Corey Seager hitting .279. Seager batting .309 since we got into May. Takes a change for a strike, and the count 0-1. 2-0 Atlanta. Seager up there, followed by Trace Thompson. Whistler turns, big kid from Bryan, Ohio, drops a sinker low, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. He is 6'3" and 205 pounds. He'll be 24 the middle of September, and he has been a tough luck pitcher. The 1-1 pitch on the way is hit to left field. Francoeur on the run and backhands it near the line. So just like that, 2 left-hand hitters go the other way and fly out to left field. And the batter is Trace Thompson. Trace Thompson has really given the Dodgers a great lift. He is a great young man, and he is a wonderful teammate. But he got his names up now with some rather memorable people. He had a 3 walk and a 3 stolen base game. That puts him up there with Jackie Robinson, Jim Gilliam, Davey Lopes, Adrian Beltre, his manager Dave Roberts. So Trace checking in, right-hand hitter, takes off the plate, ball 1. Trace with 9 home runs. Seager has a dozen, so they've been a good combination. Trace takes the next pitch up, 2-0 the count. Matt Whistler, the right-hander, so good in high school. Ohio State gave him a full ride, but he turned that down to sign with San Diego. 2-0 pitch on the way. Fastball hit up the middle. The Thompson, a ground single to center with 2 out, and Adrian Gonzalez will be coming up. Adrian Gonzalez a little quiet right now, just as Trace Utley. Chase has had his problems with the bat. Gonzalez 0 for 7 in the first 2 games of the series, but in the last 5 games hitting just .118. However, he did go 3 for 6 in Atlanta against Whistler with a home run and a couple of ribbies. So Gonzalez with 2 down, Thompson at first. They load up the right side. Darno directly behind second base. The pitch to Gonzalez away, ball 1. Adrian trying to get something started here. Atlanta leading 2-0 in the first inning. Whistler out of his stretch, looks over his left shoulder at Thompson. Young right-hander, very deliberate, now to the plate, and that's whacked into center. Racing over, but he's not going to catch it, is Malik Smith. Here comes Thompson around third to score on a long double by Adrian Gonzalez. So Adrian might have been 0 for 7. He's now 1 for 8 and picks up an RBI. So a 2-out single by Trace Thompson. Fastball right at the knees, out over the plate, as the old players used to say, right in his wheelhouse. And so Thompson scores on that long double by Adrian Gonzalez. 2-1 in favor of the Braves. A noisy first inning, and Howie Kendrick checking in. One of the problems for Matt Whistler so far this year, as he delivers in the dirt, nice block by Krasinski, he has lost 4 games where he pitched 6 or more innings and allowed 3 runs or less and still suffered the loss, because the Braves are only getting him about 2.5 runs a game. In fact, a little less than that. Whistler out of his stretch. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's sprayed foul up to the right. When you look at the first inning for the Braves, you had Francoeur to double in Darno and Markakis to single in Francoeur. Well, they are better in Eggman for sure. So Kazmir gave it up to 2 of the tougher hitters in the game. Francoeur has 679 RBIs. Markakis 741. So the only disappointment really for Atlanta would be the fact that Freddie Freeman struck out with a runner at second base. But the other butter and egg man certainly delivered. 2-1 Braves. First inning. Kendrick with a 2-1 count. Whistler, spells that name Wisler, works away, and the count 3-1. Unfortunately for Matt, the Braves just don't win the games he starts. The Braves have lost 8 games in the games where he went to the mound, and yet, as I said, he's a heck of a lot better pitcher than that would indicate. Here's the 3-1 pitch coming up. Whistler ready, right-handed deal, swung on a shot up the middle for a base hit. Here comes Gonzalez. The drop by center fielder Smith while in the act of throwing, so they blow even the chance to have a play at the plate. And just like that, the Dodgers have bounced back to tie it up. So that was a perfect picture of the frustration of Atlanta. Adrian, a slow runner. Smith is dreaming, I've got to play at the plate. Charges, picks up the ball and drops it. So Gonzalez scores. It's a solid single by Kendrick. And just like that, the Dodgers show that bounce back ability that they do have. And in the blink of an eye, it's a 2-2 tie, making Scott Kazmir feel a lot better about everything. So now here's Jock Peterson. Last night was a very exciting and somewhat puzzling game. But there were 2 plays late in the game, in the 8th, that were truly exciting. And one was a drag bunt single by Jock Peterson. And eventually that led to a double steal. So here's young Jock struggling. He was 0 for 20, and then he came up with 2 hits last night. 8 home runs, 25 runs batted in. Kendrick at first with 2 out. 2-2 tie in the first, and the pitch low and inside, ball 1. The book on right-hander Whistler, most of his outs are in the air. Well, the first 2 batters, Utley and Seager, flied to left field. But since then, a single, a double, and another single. 1-0 pitch on the way, change with a little curve at the end of it. 2 balls and no strikes, they count. Whistler averages less than 1 ground ball for every fly ball. His 2-0 pitch on the way. Right-handed delivers, swung on, hammered foul. Peterson turning so much and so early in the swing that wound up in the stands really at an angle off first base. It was foul the moment it left the plate. For Whistler, of course, he's young and big and strong. One of his outings, he made 116 pitches. So Matt checking. The pride of Bryan, Ohio. The 2-1 pitch on the way, taken off the plate, ball 3. 3-1. Bryan, Ohio, city of about 8,545. One of the things, he has pitched well with the veteran Przinsky handling him. Hasn't worked so far in the first inning. 3-1 to count. Whistler looking over his shoulder at Kendrick. The 3-1 pitch is taken for ball 4. So it seemed easy. He got 2 fly balls in the first inning. First 2 batters. Since then, single, double for a run, single for a run, and a walk. So ever impetus that the Braves enjoyed in the top of the first inning, the Dodgers have come right back to steal it from them. Much, I'm sure, to the pain of the pitching coach, Roger McDowell. McDowell's charged to take care of these young pitchers, but they are struggling in the process. Here's Grandal batting 190. Had a base hit, pinch hit last night. Right-handed delivers, and that's fouled away, and the count 0-1. Well, we were talking about Francoeur and Markakis, big RBI men. When Gonzalez got his base hit, the double to score Thompson, that was the 1,084 RBI for Gonzalez. And Kendrick shot up the middle. That's RBI number 566. So they are not only a couple of veterans, we have a couple of production stars on both teams. 1-1 strike to count. Whistler ready. Little slider in for a strike. 1-2, facing his 7th man in the inning after the Dodgers starter Scott Kazmir faced 7. Nice crowd on a beautiful day in the ballpark. Wow, it is nice. Light breeze blowing from right to left. A little different. 1-2 pitch on the way is swung on and missed, and that'll do it for Grandal. However, the Dodgers get off the floor. They give up 2 and they come back with 2. And the first big hit was Trace Thompson's single. Gonzalez chimed in with his RBI double, and it's a 2-2 tie. The first inning total 4 runs, 7 hits, and each team left 2 men. And there were a total of 54 pitches, 30 by Kazmir. So a workout first inning, and now let's see. It'll be Kelly Johnson, Matt Whistler, the pitcher, and Malik Smith. Kazmir ready, and Scott's first pitch in for a strike. And the count 0-1. Kelly Johnson wearing the Braves uniform for the 3rd time. With them, traded away, came back, traded away, came back again. Swings, pulls one that was away from him, and rolls it right to Gonzalez. Bill Kelly taking an outside pitch and pulling it. You're not going to do much with that. And he grounds out to Gonzalez. So 1 out. And the batter is the pitcher, Matt Whistler. Whistler finished up last year pitching a near no-hitter. He shut out the Cardinals right near the end of the year. So when he came to spring training, and then he worked with Tommy Glavine to get his changeup right, because Glavine had a great one. So he started the year very optimistically, but it's been a struggle. The difference is how he pitches on the road as opposed to home. He looks at a strike. Oh, he's in a hole now. 0-2. On the road, Matt Whistler is 2-1 and a very, very good earned run average of 1.8. But at home, he's 0-4 and an ERA of 4. He looks at a fastball, and down he goes. So Kazmir now quickly has 2 out in the second inning. That's his second strikeout.
Fielder number 17, Malik Smith.
Malik Smith flied to left field in the first inning. Left-hand batter. Gonzalez with 2 out deep at first, but Kendrick on the grass. Yeah, there's the bunt. You have to expect it. The throw by Grandal in plenty of time, and that's the inning. I was a little surprised that Adrian Gonzalez was so deep, because everybody knows that Malik loves to bunt and run. And at the end of an inning and a half, a 2-2 tie. We have a 2-2 tie. Let's take another look at Matt Wisler. We told you about how he started the year. He's been a tough loser. They failed him miserably offensively. He's 2-5, but he's so much better on the road than he is at home. So a couple of things to point out about him. His first pitch in for a strike to Hernandez, and that's a point. He gave up base hits in the first inning because he was behind to Thompson 2-0. He singled. Behind to Gonzalez 1-0. He doubled. And he was behind 3-1 to Kendrick, who singled. So the first commandment is get that first pitch for a strike and get the leadoff man. But another rather interesting thing is he has his troubles usually and only in the first inning. His earned run average is 6.5 in the first inning. 0 in the second and third. Then it explodes in the fourth. And then he settles back down again. Right-hander's 2-1 pitch is high. Ball 3. 6th and 7th, his earned run average is 1. So his 2 big innings, nightmares in the 4th and the 8th. We'll see if that holds up today. 3-1 the count. Wisler looks to get a sign. Kike waiting. And the right-hand hitter swings and drives one to center and deep. Smith going back to the track at the wall. Can't get it. Home run. So the Dodgers gave up 2 in the first inning, came back with their own 2 to tie, and immediately go out in front. The home run by the Dodgers is the team's 58th home run. Very excited and happy Hernandez leaving the dugout. A downcast Wisler ready to work now on Scott Kazmir. So the Braves have hit 22 home runs and the Dodgers have hit 58. And again, Wisler is hurt because he was behind. The count 3-1. Right-hander's 1-0 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled off. 1-1 the count. Let's take another look for the marching society for Kike Hernandez. Malik Smith to the track at the wall, but it cleared the wall. So Kike comes up with his 4th home run. Meanwhile, Kazmir fouls the pitch off. 1-2. It was a full swing by Kazmir. You may remember earlier he had a sore hand, and the only thing he would do with the bat was to run up and try to bunt. 1-2 pitch on the way. Scotty takes high. Dodgers lead 3-2. Giants don't play till 5 o'clock our time. They're in St. Louis. For Whistler, that was the 7th home run he has allowed this year. Right-hander's pitch golfed at and fouled away. Przinsky got a little bit of that. So AJ kind of walking it off. Can you imagine 19 years, 1,900 innings, how many times he's been hit? Not just in the mask, off the shin guard, off the arms, the hands, the wrist. Wow. AJ Przinsky, Anthony John. He is some horse. 6'3", 225. Going to be 40. And there he is hanging out. Kazmir not quite ready. I think he's also giving Przinsky a second. Freddie Freeman also had something to do over at first base. All right. Przinsky settles in. I just can't imagine an X-ray of his body. Wow. 2-2 the count. Down goes Kazmir. That would be the 2nd strikeout for Whistler. Say, continue your Dodger retired numbers pin series collection Thursday, when the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive a pin featuring number 4 Duke Snider. Thursday? What date is that? Yeah, because Thursday's an open date. The Dodgers are going to San Francisco. We will check our ad libs. No, it's Thursday, but it's June 16th when the Dodgers are home with Milwaukee. All right. First 40,000 fans in attendance receive a pin featuring number 4 Duke Snider. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Nothing like running into a blank on a script. 1 ball and no strikes. Pitch low, ball 2. 2-0 to Utley, who flied to left field in the first inning. Seager out on deck. Dodgers lead 3-2. We're in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Whistler ready, and his 2-0 pitch on the way is swung on line to right, coming up to snatch it. A nice play by Markakis. So Utley, remember, had those 5 consecutive strikeouts, and then last night he hit the ball hard 4 times, going 0 for 5. And now here's second at bat, and he hits a line drive, and Markakis takes a hit away from him. Nice play by Nick. So with 2 down, Corey Seager flied to left in the first inning. Whistler ready and delivers. Fastball line to left, coming over as Francoeur to backhand it, and that'll be that. However, the Dodgers get a run. Hernandez hits a 3-1 pitch for the home run. And Kike was full of ginger anyway. Clears the wall. The Dodgers break the tie, and at the end of 2, 3-2 Dodgers. Into the third inning, Scott Kazmir doing a complete about face. Remember how much he struggled in the first inning? He made 30 pitches. He walked out in the second inning and made only 6. Now let's also clarify. He started the last inning with the number 8 and the pitcher. So we'll see how he does now. The big boy's coming up. Kaz delivers and misses high and away. Ball 1. 1-0. Chase Darno, he doubled inside third down the line. Eventually came in to score on a double by Francoeur. Goes outside and chases it foul off to the right. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Dodgers and Braves in their final meeting of the year. Dodgers have abused the Braves, trying to make it 5 out of 6 and 8 out of 9 here at Dodger Stadium. Pitch high, ball 2, 2-1. It is really hard for those of us who have been around a while to see an Atlanta Braves team really struggling, not doing well at all. I mean, what a proud and successful organization. The Milwaukee Braves, followed by the Atlanta Braves. The names like Maddox ringing through the ears, and John Smoltz, Henry Aaron, and all those great names that you're familiar with. Right now, they're really nowhere. 16.5 games back and on a treadmill to oblivion for now. Fly ball to center, right into the glove of Jock Peterson, and we have 1 out in the third inning.
Number 5, Freddie Freeman.
Baseball can be a very cruel business. I mean, the Braves got off to that horrible start we talked about, and out of the blue, and I'm not going to tell you the story, but it was out of the blue that Freddie Gonzalez, the wonderful manager, very popular guy, and a great servant to the Atlanta overlords, and they let him go. 1 ball and no strikes. Freddie Freeman struck out in the first inning. Kazmir ready, and the pitch to Freddie a little high. 2-0 the count. Kazmir has made 7 pitches, trying to cut down that number. 1 out. Freeman at the plate. Francoeur on deck. 2-0 pitch on the way to Freddie. He swings and comes up empty, and the count 2-1. Freeman hitting .250, 9 home runs, 16 runs batted in. On this Atlanta squad, 9 home runs makes you the big man. 2-1 the count. Kazmir holds the ball at the belt, turns, high leg kick, over the top fastball, fouled away. Still 2-2 to Freddie Freeman, who already immediately on the foul ball asked Joe West if he swung at a strike. 2-2. Kazmir comes back, and it's chased. Bad ball, bad swing. So Freddie is struggling, and when the big man is struggling, the ball club struggles. That pitch not even close to being a strike, and he went down to try and get it anyway. But it shows you the big leagues, a good solid ball player like Freddie Freeman, who can really struggle despite all of his abilities. And here now is Jeff Francoeur. He doubled in the first inning. Right-hand hitter, and he hit the ball to the base of the right field wall. Jeff, 2 home runs, 15 runs batted in, hitting a solid .283. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Fastball low and inside. 2-0. Kazmir and Whistler, and just around the corner, Colorado. Rockies will be here tomorrow night. Mike Bolsinger will be on the mound. Time at the plate. Tyler Chatwood will pitch opening against Bolsinger. Tuesday night, Eddie Butler and Julio Urias. That's right. The 19-year-old will try it again Tuesday evening here at Dodger Stadium. 2-1 to count. Francoeur waiting, bases empty. Dodgers lead 3-2. And that's a bad pitch chased in the dirt. 2-2. So the Braves may be trying too hard. We saw Freeman go after a bad pitch. Now we see Francoeur do the same thing. And the 2-2 pitch on the way inside at the knees. Fastball at 93. So Bolsinger, Urias, and Maeda. They'll be facing Colorado, and then the Dodgers go out on the road to San Francisco. 3-2 pitch is just outside. Francoeur started to offer and held up for ball 4.
22, Nick Markakis.
So Nick Markakis, who singled to left field in the first inning coming up. 2 down with Francoeur at first. With the Braves, anytime they get a man on, you start thinking about a stolen base. Francoeur, however, does not have a stolen base. Kazmir looks over at him. Scott takes a long look. Now to the plate and misses inside, ball 1. Markakis single to left to drive in Francoeur back in the first inning. Dodgers 3, Braves 2. We're in the top of the third. 1-0 pitch on the way. Change in there for a strike. Not that big rainbow change by Clayton Kershaw, but that was a nice slow rainbow curveball for a strike. Clayton looking on after another victory, but a tough battle last night. 1-1. Swung on, lifted off the left field line, slicing foul and back into the stands. Kike right to the wall to see if he might have a play. Of course, I'm sure he's pumped up anyway after that home run. Dodgers 3 runs, 4 hits. Atlanta 2 runs, 4 hits, with 2 out in the third, and Francoeur at first base. Scotty at the belt, left-hander ready, high kick, and a curveball in the dirt. You hear a lot about pitchers who have that great slide step where the front foot, the lead foot, really barely off the ground. And then there are others like Kazmir who can't do the slide step. They feel they lose too much of their stuff. So he continues to kick that leg high in the air. But he has to make sure he's staring at the runner at first, Francoeur. High kick, here he comes, swung on and missed. So the big guys, Freeman and Markakis, each strike out. No runs, no hits, a man left, and at the end of 2.5, it's 3-2 Dodgers. 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. It'll be Trayce Thompson, then Adrian Gonzalez and Howie Kendrick. By the way, if you might have just joined us, you might not know the Dodgers made a personnel move. They recalled Austin Barnes. He's a catcher infielder. He had been playing in Oklahoma City. And they designated outfielder Carl Crawford for assignment. I don't know. Crawford, of course, still has a lot of money coming to him. But I'm sure his body's been breaking down for the last couple of years so much he might very well be relieved. We'll see whether he tries to come back with another club or not. We certainly wish him well. Remember, Carl came to the Dodgers in that big deal with the Red Sox August of 2012. Meanwhile, Trayce Thompson singled, scored on a double by Adrian Gonzalez, and the next pitch to him is off the plate. 2-0 the count. For Scott Kazmir, it's a question. He made 30 pitches in the first inning, 6 in the second, but he pointed out that he was facing the numbers 8 and 9 batters in the lineup to get started. As soon as he got back in the third inning against people like Freeman and Francoeur, etc., he made 21 more pitches. So he made 57 in 3 innings. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for Scotty. 2-1 pitch on the way is hit foul, out of play. 2-2 the count to Trayce Thompson. Thompson started the day at 277 and singled his first time up. Two pitch coming up, and the right-hand batter looks at ball 3. Thompson has really been a gold mine for the Dodgers. Not only is he a solid regular player, but with Puig down and out on the DL, he has done a tremendous job with Adrian hitting back of him. And he hits one foul off to the right, out of play. Still 3-2 the count. Thompson has scored 22 runs. He has 9 home runs, 21 runs batted in. He's also stolen 4 out of 5 and played a very strong defensive outfield, whether he's in center or right. Takes a fastball inside for ball 4. So Gonzalez, who doubled, coming up. Matt Whistler struggling here. He broke in with the Padres, and then there was that big deal that sent him to Atlanta and involved a lot of players, including Melvin Upton and Craig Kimbrell. That deal sent Carlos Quentin, Cameron Maybin, along with Whistler and another player, plus a pick from the draft. So it was a huge deal with Atlanta, San Diego. So Whistler, listening to one of our favorite men in the game, Roger McDowell, or Roger the Dodger. Not only a great personality, but he certainly knows how to pitch. He's been a great asset to Atlanta for his knowledge, helping young pitchers progress. In fact, I would think Roger now is about as famous with Atlanta as Leo Mazzone was in those great days with Glavine and Smoltz and Maddox, etc. Only he doesn't have Maddox and Gross and Smoltz, etc. So here's Gonzalez. Whistler, and it's a tip-off. They think of him as a sinker pitcher. That's his number 1 pitch. You know, the scouts rate everything from 20 to 80 in everything. The pitch way off the plate. 1 ball and no strike. So here's a two-seam sinker pitcher who gets most of his outs on fly balls. So that's a concern. It doesn't quite go. They say his sinker rates 60 on the scale of up to 80. but it hasn't been working. And he's behind now 2-0. Matt Whistler out of Bryan, Ohio. Almost a Buckeye for Ohio State. 2-0 to Adrian. Thompson at first. Nobody out. Just start of the inning. Adrian swings, hits one to right and deep, but it's playable. Markakis is there to handle it. Thompson to the bag, tags to draw a throw, and nothing else. So again, if you're scouting a pitcher and somebody says this kid on the scale of 80, he's a good 60 because his sinker is so good. And then you look at the game. Utley flied to left, line to right. Seager flied to left, line to left. Gonzalez flies to right. Here's Kendrick, singled in the first inning. And a strike. 0-1 the count. Still a tough ball game. It's 3-2. Dodgers leading the Braves. We're only in the third inning, so a lot can happen. Giants won't play the Cardinals until 5 o'clock our time. Strike one pitch is sprayed foul upstairs. Jake Peavy is due to go for the Giants. Jake is not the Peavy we used to know. He's struggling. 2 wins, 5 losses, and an earned run average over 6. Carlos Martinez is struggling with a 5-5 record, but an earned run average is 3.6. Giants at St. Louis. Strike 2 pitch on the way to Kendrick, and that's hit foul again off to the right upstairs. So maybe that's the sign of the sinker more than anything else. The foul ball's going the other way. Infielders, you look at them, they're a little restless. Each one was moving, swinging arms, moving feet. 0-2. Whistler delivers, ground ball. There it is, into right field for a base hit. Since it was so weakly hit, Thompson can go all the way to third easily. So Kendrick just rolled one into right field. It died really on the grass in shallow right. Naturally, Kendrick will take it. He's 2 for 2. First and third, 1 out, and Jock Peterson coming up. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 4 hits for the Braves. 1 away, and Peterson, who walked, checking in. Matt Whistler pitched very well against the Dodgers in Atlanta, and that's counter to what he's done because he's pitched poorly at home and very well on the road. So he's pitching backwards today for sure. Right-hander ready. Peterson waiting. First play is a throw to first. For Whistler, this is his 11th start. Meanwhile, Rogers on the phone. So in a moment we might have some action in the pen. Dodgers faced him back in April, and he was tough. He allowed 1 unearned run in a 2-1 10-inning loss. He worked into the 7th inning in that game. Big swing and a miss by Jock Peterson. 0-1 to count. Dodgers are break even against the Eastern Division. For Dave Roberts, that could be a concern. They're also break even on the road. They have finally found out a way to win at home. They're 3 games above 500 now at Dodger Stadium. But they had to win 6 straight and 9 out of 11 to do that. Pitch to Peterson, a check swing, no swing. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers 3 runs, 5 hits. Braves 2 runs, 4 hits. But with 1 out, Dodgers have runners at first and third. Thompson down the line from third. Kendrick away from first. Whistler plants the right foot. Young right-hander looks in to get a sign from A.J. Pierzynski. Now the 1-1 pitch coming up. And that's down and away, a sinker away. 2-1 the count. Despite the fact that Roger McDowell called down to the bullpen, there's no action yet for the Braves. On deck, Yasmani Grandal. Everybody's hiding from the sun down there. 2-1 the count to Jock Peterson. Kendrick and Thompson at the corners and time at the plate. George Lombard comes over to say something to Kendrick. We'll see if a hit and run play might be on. 2-1. All eyes will be on Kendrick. Whistler ready. Kendrick's not going, and the pitch in for a strike. It was a fastball up around the letters and just dipped a little bit to find the strike zone. 2-2. Two balls, two strikes, one out. Whistler long again to Pierzynski. Now young Matt ready, checks the runners again, throws to first. Kendrick back on the bag. Whistler's third inning during this year. He is not allowed to run. Dodgers watching his every move. Kendrick meanwhile right back in business. Pretty good lead at first. Thompson down the line from third. And the 2-2 pitch coming up. There goes Kendrick, and there's a ground foul outside of first. So they didn't run him 2-1, but they put it on 2-2. A little hit and run, and Peterson fouled it off. Colorado. That'll be Dave Roberts' next opponent tomorrow night. 3 games with the Rockies. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and make it 4. No, 3. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7:10. Thursday, the travel day. Dodgers go to San Francisco and Arizona. All right, a 2-2 pitch, and the pitches are mounting up on Whistler. This will be pitch number 59. Maddox does not go, and there's a drive into right field for a base hit that scores Thompson. Kendrick is not going to stop, and he's on his way to third, ahead of the throw by Markakis, and the Dodgers now lead 4-2. And now that phone call that Roger McDowell made a little earlier, we will see some action, I believe, following that call for the first time. So Peterson, a single to right. Thompson walks home, and Kendrick goes all the way to third. No, they were just moving around in the bullpen, but no one has gotten up to throw as Thompson comes in to cool off. Dodgers 4 runs, 6 hits. The Braves 2 runs, 4 hits. Whistler ready. Change up in for a strike. Change at 76. Grandal struck out in the first inning. Yasmani with a bad hand, had bad arms earlier, hitting just 186. Pitch down and away. 1-1. Of course, that you hear about the injuries of Grandal, the beating that he's taken behind the plate, and then you look at Pierzynski. 19 years he's been taking a beating. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Whistler delivers off the plate. 2-1. Grandal took a look over to third. They might play hit and run here. 2-1 the count. 1 out. We'll watch Peterson. So will Whistler. Peterson not going, and a big slow breaking ball missed inside. So they didn't play hit and run. Now let's see if they play run and hit, where the batter is not obligated to swing at ball 4. Peterson taking his lead. 3 balls, 1 strike. He is not going. And there's a high fly ball to deep right field. Back goes Markakis at the track, at the scoreboard. Gone. 3-run home run. Dodgers lead 7-2. Once again, young Whistler is penalized for falling behind to the batter. The count was 3-1, and he grooved a fastball at the knees for a 3-run home run for Grandal. It's a 4-run inning. The Dodgers lead 7-2. Again, you have to wonder, and I'm not trying to give young Matt Whistler a bad time, but that's a strange combination. You talk about a pitcher who has a very good sinker, and yet all the balls are hitting the air. And the pitch, a strike to Hernandez, who homered in the 2nd inning. 7 runs and 7 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Braves. And the next pitch, a little slider for a strike, and the count 0-2. So every time you look up, Whistler falls behind, and he is punished, this time by Grandal. Next pitch swung on and missed. Down goes Kike. So he rides the elevator from the penthouse home run to the basement with a strikeout.
Number 29, Scott Kazmir.
2 down, and Scott Kazmir coming up. Well, from the looks of things, the Braves do not have anyone throwing in the bullpen. It might be they're going to say to Matt Whistler, you're going to have to take one for the team. First pitch fouled away by Kazmir. 0-1 the count. Every now and then a starting pitcher struggling, score gets out of hand, but it's early and they don't want to burn up the pen. Little pop fly back a third down the line. It is gonna drop for a base hit. Picked up by Francoeur, and for Kazmir, he gets a base hit. That is his 2nd hit in 20 at-bats. So a pop fly single to left field, and the batter will be Chase Utley. And again, and I'm not going to belabor the point anymore, but there's the pitcher, the hitter, and a sinker ball pitcher supposedly, and the pitcher hits a pop fly into left field. Utley has flied to left and lined out to right. Freeman is not holding a corner on Kazmir. He's behind him. And the first pitch to Utley, a strike, and the count 0-1. Whistler hands it aside, reading signs flashed out by A.J. Pierzynski. 0-1. Big swing and a miss. 0-2. That's another thing about Pierzynski. They used to have an old expression, when you shake hands with a veteran catcher, it's like putting your hands in a bag full of peanuts. The fingers have just gotten beaten up all through the years. Alexi Ogando, we saw him last night. He's now up in the Atlanta pen. Utley takes high, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. So it's been a very disappointing day for young Matt Whistler. They know he's going to be a good one, but not right now. Matt set the 1-2 pitch, swung on and missed, and Utley goes down. So Chase 0 for 3 today, but the Dodgers have scored 7 runs, 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 4 in the third. The big blow, 3-run home run by Yasmani Grandal, and the Dodgers lead 7-2. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. A great picture, Walter Alston on the right and Casey Stengel with a press card flipped inside his hat. 1963 World Series, the manager of the Yankees was Ralph Houck, the major. Casey was just beginning a career with the New York Mets, so he showed up as if he was a writer for the Yankee-Dodger series. Irrepressible Casey Stengel, 1963. I would think, certainly back in those days, anyone in the Dodger organization, that's the sweetest one of all. Oh, yes, they won in 55, but the 63 to sweep the lordly Yankees, believe me, every Dodger throughout the world glowed in that victory. Well, Adonis Garcia trying to help the Braves get back against Scott Kazmir. Adonis singled first at bat. On 1. For young Matt Whistler, he made 34 pitches in that nightmare third inning. He's made 73 pitches in the game. John Gant, a right-hander whom we saw last night, he's throwing now. Hard ground ball backhanded nicely by Kendrick to make the play. So Howie's been playing left field, but he just took that ball as if he'd been playing third base all year. A shot inside, backhanded nicely, and then deferred.
15, AJ Brzezinski.
One away. Here's Brzezinski. Brzezinski, when he entered the 2000 hit club as a catcher, that was pretty important. He joins a star-studded cast of former players to reach the milestone while being primarily a catcher. And what names! He strokes it into right field for a base hit. He joined Hall of Famers Carlton Fisk, Mike Piazza, Yogi Berra, Gary Carter, and Johnny Bench, and
Johnson.
3 perennial All-Stars, Ivan Rodriguez, Ted Simmons, and Joe Torre, who of course later on made it to Cooperstown as a manager. He's the first player to accomplish the feat since catcher Jason Kendall back in 2009. So you're looking at quite a player in AJ Brzezinski. Fastball for a strike, 0-1. One ball and 1 strike. Well, Ogondo stopped and Gant has stopped, so it's very quiet in the Atlanta bullpen. They're waiting to see about Whistler. He's due up. 1-1. 2-1. Brzezinski over there at first with all of his credits. He does have a stolen base. He's 1 for 1. I would doubt they're going to run him 2-1, especially with a left-hander. And that slide ball into center, and Peterson is there. So now let's see. And it looks like Whistler is going to take one for the club. In other words, the Braves down 7-2, and they've decided no sense getting into the bullpen. Matt will get more experience, with quotes around the word experience. Roger Craig, Roger McDowell, and manager Nick Sitka figuring let him stay in there a while. When you're 16.5 games back before the All-Star game, that's the way to think. 0-1. Dodgers 7 runs, 8 hits. Braves, who had 2 runs in their first inning, 5 hits, no errors. That was a good changeup. Whistler couldn't resist. 0-2. Just floats up there. 75 miles an hour. Well, the veteran and the kid tangling today. Fastball missed on the heels of the change. 1 ball and 2 strikes. I'm looking way up in the upper deck down the right field line, as high as almost all the way to the top of the foul ball. There are 2 people. Look at that. And they are gazing anything but watching the game. It's kind of that kind of a game. 2-2. Fouled away. That is funny. You go to all the trouble of getting up there and, okay, what's new, pal? Two balls and 2 strikes. Change up. So down goes Whistler. That's the 3rd out for the Braves. No runs, a hit, a man left. And at the end of 3.5 innings, well, hello there. Look at that. Every move, sheer poetry. Oh, it's 7-2 Dodgers. Have hit 2 home runs today by Hernandez and Grandal. Since May 1st, the Dodgers have hit 42 home runs. In the month of April, they only hit 17. They were about last in the league, and now they're right up there, a total of 59. Kike Hernandez joined in the fun. Seager, a high fly ball to left center, carrying deep to the wall is Smith. It's gone. So Corey Seager will get another reception committee. Seager, after hitting 3 home runs in game 1 last night, was a quiet 0 for 3, and today he was 0 for 2, and he hits it out. And to center field. One of the home runs the other night was to straightaway left, right down the line. So for Corey Seager, that's his 10th home run and his 13th now, 4th in the last 3 games. So Seager 13 home runs, 32 runs batted in, and the ball just carried. I checked the flags. There was no wind. It just got there all on its own. Going into the game, Seager and Thompson together had 21. Breaking ball strike. The previous 2 home runs were hit on the 3-1 count. We'll see what the count was on that. It was the first pitch. Oh, down goes Thompson. It could be a little thinking too by Corey Seager, saying to himself, okay, the other 2 home runs were 3-1. He's going to try and get out in front of me with a strike, and he was ready. And now for the second time, John Gant gets up in the Atlanta bullpen. So Whistler can go just so far before they break his heart today. He's down 8-2. Dodgers have scored in every inning. Whistler allowing 3 home runs today. He had allowed 6 home runs, so he's now allowed 9. 1 ball and 1 strike. Adrian doubled in a run and flied to right. 1-2. Dodgers 8 runs, 9 hits. Braves 2 runs, 5 hits. Ground foul. Just looking through the book, Braves infield has not had a ground ball, I don't think. Nope. So pretty restless for the infielders. Only the 4th inning. And there he is, Scott Kazmir, who gave up 2 in the first inning, head down, very upset. Now all of a sudden the world looks great, and he has a base hit while leading 8-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Adrian. Fouled away. Dodgers trying to make it 7 straight wins at home to get them 4 games above 500 at Dodger Stadium. Ground foul. 2-2. So the only ground balls really outside of base hits have been foul balls. Dodgers enjoying the afternoon. Two balls, 2 strikes. Missed inside, ball 3. The Braves have lost 39 games. Well, they're on the edge of number 40. And ball 4. Home run, strikeout, and walk. Well, you've heard of growing pains. It also extends to young pitchers as they try to learn on the job, and that's really tough in the big leagues. Kendrick has single to center, single to right. Both of them ground balls. That's a strike. Sharply hit ground ball up the middle, and a slow roller that died of exhaustion just to reach the grass in right field. One ball and 1 strike. Colorado tomorrow. Nolan Arenado, the third baseman. Boy, he is some show. 1 ball, 1 strike. Way out in front of that. 1-2 to Howie. Again to repeat. Tyler Chatwood against Mike Bolsinger tomorrow night. Eddie Butler against Julio Urias. The 19-year-old will be on the mound at Dodger Stadium. A lot of interesting people should come to take a look at that. And then Chris Russin will go up against Kenta Maeda. Well, there's young Julio watching a big league game. 3-2 the count. One out. Gonzalez at first. Lombard over to talk to him for the moment. There he goes, and it's fouled away. So they're running Gonzalez with a full count and 1 down, with the Dodgers leading 8-2. Dodgers scored 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 4 in the third, 1 in the fourth, after the Braves scored 2 in the first inning. There goes the runner. There goes the ball, but it's in the air to Markakis, who tries to double up Adrian, but he can't do it. So it's another out in the air. 2 down, and the batter will be Jock Peterson.
Fielder Jock Peterson.
Jock Peterson walked and singled to right. Picked up an RBI. And then was on base with the home run by Grandal. His single cashed in Trace Thompson. And ball 1. Now you start to think, if you've been watching the game, I wonder if an infielder will ever get a ground ball. Ball 2. Shortstop d'Arnaud kind of shaking his legs out there. Just stopped doing it. But standing around, you start tightening up a little bit. Yeah, you get to fuss with yourself. Just nothing's happening. And ball 3. Three and 0. And a strike. 3-1. Corey Seager doesn't know it, probably doesn't care, as he stands in the Dodger dugout. 3-1 pitch to Jock Peterson. A strike. Since May the 11th, Corey Seager is the major league leader in home runs. Believe it or not, with 11. Adam Duvall has 10, Mookie Betts 9, Mark Trumbo 9, Danny Valencia 9. But he's the leader with 11 since May 11th. Runner going there. It is a ground ball to an infielder. Tape that, Robbie. We'll save it. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 left. And the run came on the wings of a breaking ball that was hit out of the ballpark by Corey Seager. And at the end of 4, 8-2 Dodgers. Brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Picture of the past, Braves on the road, Milwaukee Braves at Ebbets Field. The catcher is Roy Campanella and the hitter Eddie Matthews. Matthews hit 512 home runs, tying my boyhood idol Mel Ott, 512. Eddie was a sweet, slow-talking guy. The one thing you would not want to do with him, and all the players knew it, don't get into a fight. He might very well have been the best boxer in baseball. Eddie Matthews passed away in La Jolla. Marvelous third baseman for the Braves. Meanwhile, A.G. Przinsky holding court, trying to help the young pitcher Matt Whistler. He's kind of like an assistant pitching coach to Roger McDowell. Long fly ball, and Peterson at the wall makes a catch, hits the wall. He appears to be okay. So that ball really carried, and Jock went back. His buddy Trace comes over to make sure he's okay. We'll take another look. Reaching up, and just as he caught it, he hit the wall. Reach up, gotcha, bam. Jock's okay. Had to keep those sunglasses on. The glare is pretty hot looking straight up into the sky after you found the ball coming out of the wedding cake to be the center fielder looking in. So a nice play by Jock Peterson, and that long fly ball by Malik Smith. Darno doubled and flied to center. Chase 1 for 2. Big chopper to third, one-handed there by Kendrick, and we have 2 down. That'll bring up Freeman. Freddie has struck out twice. 0 for 2.
First baseman Freddie Freeman.
Freeman with Frank Coeur hitting behind him. Braves started off on a high note. I mean, they had 2 runs, 4 hits, including a couple of doubles in the first inning, and they haven't been heard from since. High fly ball into right center. Thompson, sunglasses down on the track, and puts it away. So the catch by Jock Peterson is certainly worth a second look or a third look. Timing it right there, reaching up, fully extended the catch, and boom, all of a sudden the wall falls on you, and it's 8-2 Dodgers. The Braves make two changes. First of all, Brandon Snyder takes over at first base. That gives Freddie Freeman the rest of the day off. And John Gant is the new pitcher picking up for Matt Whistler. So Matt Whistler allowed 8 runs and 9 hits in his 4 innings. And as we mentioned, it was kind of intriguing when you know he has a sinker. He had 1 ground ball, and that was in his last inning to his last batter, Jock Peterson. So now John Gant. He's a big fella, 6'5", 200. 24 years old in August. Originally drafted by the Mets. And a strike. Interesting, on that pitch, John Gant, right behind him was Chase Darno, imitating his delivery. I don't think he'll do it again. Let's see. Yeah, well, what he does, when Gant swings his leg, Darno, twice acting like a pitcher, he would swing his leg. Not this time. So he's done it twice. 1-2 the count to Yasmani Grandal, who struck out and hit a 3-run home run in the 3rd inning. Dodgers hit 3 home runs against the starter, Matt Whistler. They check, no swing. Little leg kick. There it is if you're looking out to second base. It's been a very long 4 innings for the infield. I mean, 1 ground ball. Meanwhile, Grandal is called out on strikes. 1 out in the 5th.
The fielder, Kike Hernandez.
And the batter is Kike Hernandez. So Whistler wound up striking out 5, but giving up 9 hits and 8 runs. One out, 5th inning. And a strike, 0-1. John Michael Gant working on Kike Hernandez. Gant from Savannah, Georgia, but lives in Florida. Unusual delivery. 1 ball and 1 strike. John originally from New York. Went to high school in Florida. Over the top, fly ball to shallow right. Markakis will have to play it on a bounce. Kike going for 2. He is in there. So Hernandez, when you're watching him in the dugout, he goes crazy for nothing else to do. But now they're letting him play today, and all that bottled up energy. He has a home run and now a double. And he's off to the races. So the Dodgers collect their 10th hit, leading 8-2. Kike's at second base, and Scott Kazmir, who allowed 4 hits, 2 runs, and made 30 pitches in the 1st inning. Show you how life can change. Now all of a sudden he's on top of a big wave, leading 8-2. He has worked 5, so that's required of a starting pitcher in order to get a win. Ball 1, and then add to all that, Kazmir had a base hit. Meanwhile, buddy to buddy, Younger and the skipper, and the conversation continues. Of course, for Adrian, he's probably the number 1 trusted man on the club as far as production for Dave. He knows they can't go anywhere without Adrian. Eight runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers. Gonzalez has a double and a walk. I don't know, are you keeping score of this game? Big swing and a miss. Light breeze blowing left to right. If you are keeping score, Brandon Snyder will bat 9th. And the pitcher Gant will go into Freeman's spot. One and 2. Ground ball of the hole through into left field, and they are going to send in Kike. He is going to be out from me to you. So with one out on a base hit to left, the Dodgers gamble and Hernandez shut down. So 2 out.
Second baseman number 26, Chase Utley.
Good strong throw by Jeff Francoeur, and he's out quite a distance. All right, 2 down, score still 8-2. At least Kike had a chance to burn off all that bottled up energy. And here's Utley. For Kazmir, this has turned out to be quite a day. He has 2 hits, but he did lose a possible run batted in. So Kazmir at first, 2 down. Ball 1 to Chase Utley, who has flied to left, lined out to right, and struck out. That's a strike. Breeze has picked up now, blowing from left to right. Two balls, 1 strike. There you go. So the people out there in right field sitting back in the sunlight and just stroked by a light breeze. Ah, yes. And ball 3. The deal when the Mets had John Gant, they made a deal and acquired Juan Uribe, Kelly Johnson, and cash from the Braves. And among others, they got John Gant. Fouled away. 3-2 the count. Juan Uribe. Wasn't he something? Uribe hit 3 home runs in a game, I think. Yeah. Yes, he did. All right, 3-2 the count. 2 down. Kazmir ready to move from first. They're not holding him on. And foul back. Matt Whistler for 4. Gant pitching the 5th inning. Dodgers 8 runs, 11 hits, including home runs by Hernandez, a 3-run home run by Grandal, and a solo home run by Corey Seager. Gant not ready. There goes the runner on ball 4. Say, friends, you can get your Dodger license plate frame tomorrow. Dodgers and Rockies. It'll be available to the first 40,000 fans and presented by Arco. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. I was just thinking, looking out at the infielders who have just had absolutely nothing to do. There's been 1 ground ball, that's all. And they're kind of standing, and I keep thinking of one man who would have fit perfectly into that infield. And he was a great player. Talking about Red Schoendienst. Albert Red Schoendienst of the St. Louis Cardinals, a great second baseman. And he had one mannerism you might find hard to believe, but it would be fitting perfectly in this scenario. Here's the strike 1 pitch. 1-1. Red threw right-handed. He would stand at his position in second base,
holding his glove, not on. He would hold the glove in his right hand, and he would keep that glove on his right hand until the pitcher just was releasing the ball, and he would immediately slip his glove on at second. And he would, standing there with that glove in his right hand, he would have fit perfectly with the Atlanta infield today. But he was a heck of a player. I don't remember seeing anybody else do that. It's kind of risky, but read perfect timing. Yeah, well, oh well. Tough on them, it really is. 2-2. So the Braves have now made 1,000 pitches. We're in the 5th, and the Dodgers lead 8-2. Corey flied to left, lined to left, and homered. Time, beach ball loose and retrieved. Two and two. Foul back. Look at Darno. He just changed it. The shortstop was carrying his glove in his right hand. Just for a couple of moments. Darn it, we missed showing it. 2-2. Foul ball. Let's see what he does this time. Kind of standing on the corner waiting for a bus. All right. Well, he's still got that glove hidden. It's in his left hand. Yeah, okay. He's ready. 2-2. Little flare back of third down the line. Trouble in River City. It will drop. Here comes Casimir to score. Dodgers have runners at first and third and lead 9-2. So Seager gets a pop fly single to left and a run batted in. Utley moves along. Casimir came in to score. And Trace Thompson coming up. So it's 9 runs and 12 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Braves. Thompson single to center, walked, struck out, scored twice. And ball 1. Will somebody hit a ground ball to an Atlanta infielder, please? One and one. The lucky infielder is Kelly Johnson. He's the only one to field a ground ball. The other infielders have been standing like that youngster in the aisle. And a strike, 1-2. Trace single to center, came around to score on Gonzalez double, walked in the third, came around to score on Peterson single, then last time up struck out. 9 runs, 12 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 5 hits for Atlanta. Breeze picking up, blowing from left to right. Foul ball. Adrian Gonzalez waiting on deck. One ball and 2 strikes. Two and two. Matt Whistler followed by John Gant. And strike. So Thompson strikes out. Dodgers have a man thrown out at the plate, but still manage to score and lead 9-2. Dodgers retired number 24. That was the number worn by Walter Alston from the first day that he managed the Dodgers in 1954 right up to 1977. Over that stretch, Walter Alston had 4 World Championship teams, including the biggest one, I guess, which would be the first and only championship for the borough of Brooklyn. And with that, let's go back to this one. Ball 1 to the leadoff man, Jeff Francoeur, who has doubled and walked. I was asking Walter Alston about that day that the Brooklyn Dodgers won their championship, their only one. And I asked Walter, how did your dad celebrate back in Dartown, Ohio? And Walter said he went to the closet and took out a shotgun. Foul ball, 1-2. Walked out onto the porch, held the shotgun straight up to the sky, pulled the trigger once, turned, went back into the house, put the shotgun back in the closet. And when Walter came home, the first thing his dad said, "We have work to do on the South 40." I mean, that's the way it was received in Dartown, Ohio. And I used to always tease him after that. Line drive down the line, extra base hit for Francoeur. Figures to be his second double, so he has 2 doubles and a walk, and he leads off the 6th. Christmas time of 1955, Walter Alston was king of the hill, manager of the world champion Dodgers in Brooklyn. And I honestly sent a Christmas card to Mr. and Mrs. Walter Alston, Dartown, Ohio, and I had the zip code, and I mailed it. And here's this big man now who's just been the king of the hill, world champion manager. They came back, address unknown, Dartown, Ohio, and they didn't deliver. So all those times, I would always say, yeah, how big are you when they don't know you in Dartown? He was wonderful. 1 ball and no strikes. And you know who he really loved? Jerry Doggett. Oh boy, he just thought Jerry was the best. So did I. But yeah, Walter was great. 1 ball and no strikes. High chopper up the middle, over the bag, through into center. On his way to score is Francoeur. And so Kazmir gives up a run. Dodgers now lead 9-3. J.P. Howell gets up in the Dodger bullpen. One thing, Kazmir has been on base twice. He is 2 for 2. He actually scored on the base hit by Seager, and he might not be 100%. And Roberts is going out there to check. So let's see. J.P. Howell in the pen. Kazmir has gone 5. That's the required distance in order to win a game. Roberts and the trainer. And Kazmir's going to have to lead. I don't know if he did anything while scoring on the base hit. He had 2 hits. He had a busy day. Made 85 pitches. He'll give way, and we'll be right back. Season, hopefully we'll find out and we'll pass it along. Scotty goes 5 innings. He was on first base in the 3rd inning with a base hit. He was on first base in the 5th inning with a base hit. Then he went to second on a walk, and he scored on the single by Seager. I'm not sure if he did something in the process of scoring the run, but Kazmir has to come out, and J.P. Howell picks up with the Dodgers leading 9-3. JP will be facing Adonis Garcia, the 3rd baseman, and then the veteran catcher A.J. Pierzynski. Kazmir charged with 3, but the runner at first, Markakis, also his responsibility. So JP ready to work on Garcia, who has singled and robbed of a hit by Kendrick in the 4th inning. And ball one. Tried to turn it over. It didn't quite work. 2 balls and no strikes. Braves got 2 in the first inning, but the Dodgers came back with 2. Looked like they were going to run away with it. Braves trying to wake up offensively have picked up a run here in the 6th and trail 9-3. High pop fly. Utley angling out. Gonna call. So Garcia pops it up. 1 down, and the batter A.J. Pierzynski. Pierzynski coming into the game has been struggling. He's had 3 hits and 28 at bats with 1 RBI. However, today, after grounding out in the first inning, he did single to right in the 4th. Right. Casey Fiend, the right-hander, recently acquired by the Dodgers. He's beginning to loosen up, playing short toss, so he's not ready at all. He'll have to work his way back to the rubber. Throwing behind Howell. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, it's kind of quiet, right? What do we do? Well, first of all, I'm going to sit here and think about things, but not long. I got an idea. Little roller foul. 1 and 2. Tyler Flowers caught the first 2 games. Pierzynski catching number 3, and then the Braves move on. Colorado will be here tomorrow night. Tuesday night, Urias, the young 19-year-old from Mexico, will take the mound at Dodger Stadium. 2-2 the count. On deck, Kelly Johnson. Little tapper wide at third. Kendrick feeding Seager, gets it to first, and they get the double play. So that's an interesting double play. 5-6-3. 1 run, 2 hits, nobody left, and at the end of 5.5, 9-3 Dodgers.
Brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com.
Turn the clock back to 1963. A very boyish-looking Sandy Koufax has just pitched a gem in the 1963 World Series, Game 1, striking out 15. And I remember I was working that game, and I was sitting in the Yankee dugout, an hour at least before the game. And Ralph Houck said to me, "The Koufax kid." I said, "Yep." He said, "How good is he?" There's a drive to right. Markakis comes over and makes the catch for the out. And down goes Gonzalez, one away. So I said to Ralph, "You know, he is so good that I hope that now he's center stage in a World Series game. You see him at his best. I'm not sure whether he'll win or lose, but I would like you to see him at his best." Well, Sandy that day in the sunshine in Yankee Stadium struck out 15 to set the World Series record. 0-1 the count to Howie Kendrick. Has singled twice, fly to right, 2 for 3. 1 ball and 1 strike. Howie slowly trying to add to his batting average. 221 when the game started. He's up there about 230 now. We're in the bottom of the 6th. 1 out, 9-3 Dodgers. In the game, the Dodgers have home run by Hernandez, home run by Seager, and a 3-run home run by Yasmani Grandal. Peterson on deck, however. Well, there's a chopper. This is the second ground ball for an out. I was going to say that Peterson had the only ground ball in the game in the 4th inning.
Center fielder number 31, Jock Peterson.
Jock has also walked and singled besides that ground ball. 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, and a wonderful catch on a well-hit ball by Smith in the 5th inning when Jock went up the wall, caught the ball, crashed into the wall, was knocked flat, but okay. Hard ground ball, fair ball, play at first. Jock is standing at the plate. That's a mistake. You just have to play. You can't be the umpire. Cowboy Joe West was there. The first base umpire was Ramon de Jesus. Ramon is the first Dominican to be a major league umpire. Jock is still standing shell-shocked. We'll be back. With the Dodgers leading 9-3. One change at first base. Scott Van Slyke, just coming off the DL, finally gets a chance to play a little bit, and he'll play at first base, picking up for Adrian Gonzalez, who had doubled, walked, and hit a couple of fly balls. Only other change. Meanwhile, Kelly Johnson will start it off, then Brandon Snyder, the first baseman, and then the top of the heap, and that would be Malik Smith. Oh, and 1 to count. 9-3 Dodgers. Very briefly in the top of the first inning, it was 2-0 Atlanta. The Dodgers then took over. Ground ball somehow finds a fielder, and the overthrow. Dodgers had loaded up the side, both Seager and Utley. Utley trying to run it down into shallow center field. It'll go as a base hit, I'm sure. And the batter will be Brandon Snyder. The leap, the throw, which is way offline. Van Slyke saying, hey, wait a minute, I just got in the game. Give me a play. So base hit. And here is Brandon Snyder. Snyder was at AAA. They've just called him up. We really don't know anything about him except the fact he's just been called up from AAA. Runner at first, nobody out. 7th inning, 9-3 Dodgers. That's a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Braves selected him from AAA June the 2nd. He was hitting .325 with a couple of home runs in AAA. He has played in 957 minor league games. 1-2. Chased it. Welcome to the bigs, huh? Down he goes. Say, friends, celebrate Dodger pitching great Don Newcomb's 90th birthday this Wednesday. First 40,000 fans in attendance receive a Don Newcomb bobblehead presented by United Healthcare. For tickets, be sure to visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Big Nuke. Malik Smith robbed of an extra base hit in the 5th inning. Jock Peterson smashing into the center field wall to make the catch. He also flied out, and he tried to bunt. You figure he's one of those players who will try to bunt at least once in every game. 0 for 3. We didn't hear anything about Scott Kazmir. Kazmir scored a run in the 5th inning. He had 2 hits today. Scotty in the 6th gave up a double, a single, a run, and had to come out. We'll see if we can hear anything. We'll pass it along, of course. 2 balls, no. 1-2 the count. Chase Darno, the shortstop, on deck. 1 for 3. Lovely crowd on a beautiful day. Wow. Check swing. They're checking to see no swing, says Kerwin Danley. It's good to see Kerwin back. He had a rough night last night. A couple of foul balls got him on the leg, one on the arm, and then the back got him. But he's okay. Chance to visit with Bo Porter, the third base coach for Atlanta. 2-2. Just missed. Boy, that was a tough pitch to take with 2 strikes. 3-2 the count to Mallex Smith. Up there, and then he fought it and won the battle and kept the bat back. And ball 4. So the Braves now have runners at first and second. 1 out, 7th inning, down by 6. And Dave Roberts now points to the pen. Casey Fiend has been down there, and it looks like they're calling on Casey. Yep, he's coming in. JP's going out, and we'll be back. Future hold for the Dodgers? Well, not that we can figure that out, but we can look at the calendar. They have 3 games back-to-back with Colorado starting tomorrow night. Thursday an off day, but they'll probably travel to San Francisco. Sometimes in the old days with a night game in San Francisco, they travel that morning, but that idea went down the drain. So their off day will be an off the ground day, and 3 with the Giants. Then they'll go to Arizona for 3 and come home and play Milwaukee and Washington. It's a 4-game series with the Milwaukee Brewers, one of the many teams that have struggled under 500. Milwaukee 4 games under right now. Dodgers in a stretch where they're trying to get rich. They play 13 of 16 teams under 500. 13 of 16. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Casey Fiend, F-I-E-N. Darno has double, fly to center, grounded to third. Casey is 6'2", about 195. Born in Santa Rosa. Lives in Buena Park. Went to school at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. He's been around. He'll be 33 in October. 2 on, 1 out. And a drive into the gap, but there's Peterson closing on it to make the catch. Tagging is Johnson, and he will get to third. So 2 out. Nice play by Peterson to cover the gap. Gant, the pitcher, is due up, and Ender Inciarte is going to bat. Inciarte hit .303 last year, and that was a major accomplishment. There were only 2,300 hitters in the big leagues last year, but Inciarte was sitting this one out. He went 0 for 4 in the first game. He went 1 for 4 in the second game. And with Kazmir starting, they sat him down. And now Ender checks in as a hitter for Gant. And a strike. Last year hitting over 300. He hit 303 to be exact. This year off to a slow start, hitting only 205. Runners at the corners. It's 9-3 Dodgers. Throw to first base. The sweeping tag got him. And what a time to get picked off. You're down by 6. You're at first base and you're hung out to dry. Great play by Grandal, especially with a left-hand hitter. You can use him as a screen, and he just hung Smith out to dry. And it's still 9-3 Dodgers. Let's take a look at the in-game box score, and as you can see at a glance, Utley is on the outside looking in. Chase has a walk. He also flied to left, lined out to right. So he's 0 for 3. Everybody else joining the fun. Everybody else pretty busy. Dodgers scoring 9 runs. Grandal hitting that 3-run home run was a big boost. Meanwhile, Ogando picks up the pitching. Inciarte is now in center field. Malik Smith picked off. Of course, that's what happens when you have a ball club that's just struggling. They struggle in every single area, even base running. Nine runs, 12 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Braves. Here's the pickoff. Look how far out he is, and never saw the fact that Grandal was using the hitter as a screen. And boy, you talk about being picked off. Down by 6, and you're trying to rally in the 7th inning. Ogando pitched briefly last night. Yasmani Grandal struck out, and then Whistler was behind on a 3-1 count, and Grandal hit a 3-run home run. Last time up, he struck out. In fact, for Matt Whistler, who started the game, all of his problems really began by falling behind in the count, and especially with the home runs to Hernandez and then Grandal, each on a 3-1 count. Chris Hatcher is up now in the Dodger bullpen. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Dodgers leading handily. Grandal fouls it off. Dodgers have won 6 straight at home, 9 of the last 11. They've also beaten the Braves. If they beat them today, they will have beaten them 8 of the last 9 meetings here. Kike Hernandez homered. Meanwhile, a couple of little guys have a lot going on there. I mean, a lot. That's important stuff. Foul back. Bless their hearts. They're in a different world, aren't they? A little fan for the fan. Ah, yes. No passport back to that world. Once you leave it, you're gone. But while you're there, Oh, Grand Dog got a little bit of it. Still alive at the plate. The pitching again, Tyler Chatwood and Mike Bolsinger tomorrow night against Colorado. Eddie Butler and Julio Urias for the Dodgers Tuesday night. That'll be an interesting debut here. And then Chris Russin and Kenta Maeda Wednesday night. 3-2. Foul ball down the line. Dodgers with the home runs have a couple of doubles. And that's off the plate. So Grandal begins the seventh with a base on balls. The batter will be Kike Hernandez.
Left fielder number 14, Kike Hernandez.
Kike had a 3-1 count against Whistler in the second inning and whistled a home run. Struck out and then doubled and was thrown out at the plate in the fifth inning. Ogando's been with several ball clubs. He's from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican. He'll be 33 in October. Started with the Oakland A's back in 2001. Right. Ogando is 6'4", 195. He was only in the A's organization for a little while, and then the Rangers had him, and he was with the Rangers starting back in 2010. Went to the Red Sox and now the Braves. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ogando started his career as an outfielder. He didn't have a very good strike zone judgment, so they tell me. But he had a good arm, so they decided to convert him to a pitcher. And that's a little pop fly. It'll be the shortstop d'Arnaud. So Kike, good guy, picks up his bat, brings it back.
Hitter number 28, Austin Barnes.
Austin Barnes, who has just arrived today. If you were not with us at the start, and maybe I should have mentioned it a couple of times during the game, Austin Barnes, a catcher infielder recalled from AAA Oklahoma City, was with the Dodgers early in the year. And Carl Crawford was assigned and designated for assignment. So the Dodgers say goodbye to Carl Crawford and begin a career they hope with Austin Barnes. Barnes hit 133 early in the year. Born in Riverside, lives in Corona. Went to school at Arizona State. And he hits a high foul ball down the line and out of play. Austin Barnes, his uncle, is Mike Gallego. Gallego played in the big leagues for over 13 years. Austin, 5'10", about 190. 26 years old. He'd be 27 a couple of days after Christmas. But for him, Christmas arrived today in the big leagues. 0-2. While Barnes was down in Oklahoma City, he hit .306, had 8 doubles, a triple, 11 RBIs. He's not a power hitter, but he's a very versatile player, catcher, infielder. 1-2. For Barnes, he had a big thrill already. He made his first career opening day roster in his second year with the Dodgers, and then optioned out April the 15th. One ball and 2 strikes. And down he goes. We get a report now about Scott Kazmir. Remember, Kazmir
Second baseman, number 26,
singled opening up the 5th inning, went to second on a walk, and scored on a single by Seager, scoring from second base. Then he went out to the mound, gave up a double to Francoeur, a single to Markakis, and they went out to see, obviously there was something wrong, and he was cramping in his left quad. So Kazmir had to come out. Howell and Fiend have been in there, and that's a strike. Utley not enjoying the fun, flied to left, lined out to right, struck out and walked. Oh and 1. So Agondo opened up with a walk to Grandal, but he got Hernandez to pop up. Then he strikes out Barnes, working on Utley. Hatcher getting ready to pitch the 8th. And low with a fastball. 2-1 to count. Alexi Ogando had a lot of trouble, but that's way back in '05. Visa difficulties in the Dominican. Just couldn't seem to get out of the country to join the A's. He and a number of other young players in the Dominican had been kind of caught up in a visa fraud scandal, and that really messed things up for him before he could finally get here. 2-2. Low fastball. Utley tried to golf it. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. You have a run of Grandal at first, and the Dodgers leading 9-3 in the bottom of the 7th. A laid-back Sunday afternoon crowd. Scores had a lot to do with it. Braves got 2 in the first inning, and the Dodgers looked like they were never going to stop scoring. And that's laced into right center. There's nobody there. It'll go to the wall. Grandal is going to be waved in. The relay by Chase Darno is not in time. Dodgers lead 10-3. And Utley with a ringing double into right center. And that means he was the last man out. Now he's the last man in. Everybody else had a base hit. And now Chase chimes in with that long double and a run batted in. So Corey Seager coming up, trying to pick up Utley. The run is in the 7th. Dodgers only failed to score in the 6th. 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 4 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 1 in the 7th, with a goose egg in number 6. Corey is 2 for 4. Fly to left, lined out, homer to left, and single. One and one. Dodgers piling up double figures. 10 runs, 13 hits. On their way to taking 2 out of 3 from the Braves. Finishing off the series, winning 5 of 6. They will now have beaten the Braves 8 of the last 9 games played here at Dodger Stadium. And a high fly ball to right field. Markakis going back. Seager has hit another. Corey Seager has hit 5 home runs in the 3-game series against Atlanta. 5. Number 5 on his back to remind you. Seager now has 14 home runs, and as we say, 5 in this series. Wow. And the Dodgers lead 12-3. And ball 1 to Trace Thompson, who has singled and walked and struck out twice. One ball, no strikes. When the Braves come up in the 8th inning, Inciarte, Francoeur, and Markakis. But for Seager, a one-man band. Howie Kendrick talking to him. 2-1. Have you ever seen a one-man band? Yeah, when I was a kid, every now and then a one-man band would come through the neighborhood. The man would have a drum on his back, big drum. And by movements with his arm, the drum would be beaten by drumsticks. And then he would have cymbals, let's say, in his hands. And he'd have some things that around his ankles where it moved his feet, they jingled. Yeah, one-man band. Oh, I saw a lot of funny things. When was the last time you saw a dead horse in the middle of the street? Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, that happened a lot. And what they would do, you couldn't move the horse right away. So they would put red lanterns around the body of the horse so a car wouldn't, drive into it in the night. And with us, it was normal. Anything new today? No, just another dead horse. Look out. Trace is hit. Goes to first, and the beat goes on. 12 runs, 14 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Braves. You know, you meet nice people on the other team. A fellow like Brian Snitker, a really nice man. Eddie Perez, his coach. Roger McDowell, you've heard us talk about. And you certainly don't feel sorry for them, but at the same time, you would wish they could lose a little better. I guess if you're a professional ball player, there's no way to lose a little bit better, but I think you know what I mean. Snitker sitting on the chair, Roger before with his hand up to his face. I mean, lose, but why do you have to be clobbered 12-3 or whatever and wind up at least 16.5 games out of first? You've been able to win only 6 games. Imagine what that feels to Terry Pendleton, who was such a great player. So you do wish Atlanta, I'd like you to lose better. 2 balls and no strikes. And that's popped up, and I mean up. Sunglasses really glistening, and it's going to be Garcia with d'Arnaud right behind him. Let's take another look, shall we? Of course we should. Corey Seager hit one in the 4th. Why don't we take another look at the one here in the 7th? He buries it deep in the pavilion, and the Dodgers lead 12-3.
Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today.
12-3 in favor of the Dodgers. They've had smooth sailing all day since the bottom of the 1st inning. Dodgers have made 2 changes. Austin Barnes, who batted for Fiend, stays in the game at second base, batting 9th. Hatcher, the new pitcher, is in Utley's spot, number 1. 12 runs, 14 hits for the Dodgers, including 4 home runs, 2 by Seager, 1 by Hernandez, and a 3-run home run by Grandal. But for Corey Seager, 5 home runs in the 3-game series against Atlanta. Ender Inciarte took over in center field right after Malik Smith was picked off first base. That's a strike. 3-1. Kazmir, Howell, Fiend, and Hatcher. Kazmir looking to win his 5th. Foul back. Braves using Whistler, Gant, and Ogando. Fouled away. By the way, you know, Colorado is coming in. I mentioned Nolan Arenado, who's a favorite that I like to watch play. But 2 of the top shortstops hitting home runs will be in that series. Yeah, you know about Corey Seager with his 14. Trevor Story of Colorado is quite a story. He's hit 15 home runs. By the way, the rookie record for home runs by a shortstop is 30 by Nomar Garciaparra when he played with the Red Sox. So that'll be fun to watch Trevor Story here going head to head with Seager. Rockies here tomorrow night. And that's lifted to straightaway center. Jock is there. So Inciarte a fly ball. 1 out in the
Field
8th.
number 18, Jeff Francoeur.
Francoeur double walked and doubled again. And hitting behind him, Markakis has singled twice. Each time driving in Francoeur. And a strike. Crowd has really thinned out. It's been, let's face it, a very slow moving game, but at the same time there was a lot going on to eat up the time. Dodgers saw Atlanta score 2 in the top of the first. Kazmir made 30 pitches. Then in the bottom of the first, the Dodgers got 2, and Whistler had made 24 pitches. So that was quite a first inning. A total of 4 runs, 7 hits, and 54 pitches made. Great stop at third. Boy, as he found, and a tag by Van Slyke. Howie Kendrick, who plays everywhere pretty well, has been dazzling. Backhanding, short hopping, and that thing exploded.
22, Nick Markakis.
So we have 2 down, and Nick Markakis coming up. Markakis single to left to drive in Francoeur. Struck out, single to center to drive in Francoeur. And Howie, meanwhile, showing his excellence at 3 different positions. And once in a while, they get him back to his old position at second base. And that, meanwhile, is banged into center for a base hit. So Markakis comes up with his 3rd hit. 2 down. And the batter will be Adonis Garcia.
Third baseman number 13, Adonis Garcia.
That's the 9th hit to go along with their 3 runs. Garcia single to left, robbed of a hit by Howie Kendrick, and popped up. Ah, yes, a pink Dodger hat for the ladies, of course. And thank goodness Mom is there to kind of lean on and maybe doze. It's been pretty much of a dozing game. No balls and 1 strike. Hard ground ball inside third, down the line. Though Garcia has himself an extra base hit. Going to third, and when the ball gets away from Kike, they will send in Markakis to score. Though it might be a double and an error charged to Hernandez, we'll see. So that makes it 12-4 in favor of the Dodgers. Garcia doubles to left. Markakis, I think,
15,
might have stopped at third, but when the ball got away from Kike, they sent him in. It'll be a double and a run batted in, period. Okay. So 4 runs, 10 hits for Atlanta. And here's Przinsky, grounded out, single to right, hit into a double play. And a strike. Anthony John Przinsky, 40 years old, the end of December. A remarkable career. And he adds to it with a base hit, and a run will score to make it 12-5 in favor of the Dodgers. So Hatcher not having a very good time at all. Przinsky, his 2nd hit, and he collects Garcia.
Second baseman number 24, Kelly Johnson.
Kelly Johnson, the left-hand hitting second baseman. He had a single, an infield single, in the 7th inning. Kelly grounded out, flied out. Brandon Snyder, the first baseman, is on deck. And that's a strike. So Hatcher not having any fun at all here. 3 hits with 2 out. 2 runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. Light breeze blowing out to right field. 1-2 to Kelly. Just enough to stroke the people out there in right field. It was 72 degrees when the game started. I mean, it's been beautiful. And it was interesting last night. Most of us talking about how hot it was. Last night, when the game started, it was about 75 degrees. And last night's game, when it ended, it was like 62 degrees. Should have 3 very pleasant nights coming up with Colorado, with the various headgears and protection that you need from the sun. Good idea. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 in. 12-5 Dodgers. Big swing and a miss by Kelly, and down they go. They do come up with a couple of singles and a double for 2, and we're heading for the bottom of the 8th inning. 12-5 Dodgers. TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 devices. Includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply, so visit MLB.tv for details. Well, it's turned out to be kind of a lazy, laid-back Sunday afternoon type of a game. One club taking advantage of the other. Dodgers leading the Braves 12-5. And a new pitcher, Arodys Vizcaino, coming in. Originally signed by the Yankees in 2007. He'll be 26 in November. About 6 feet, 190. Came to the Braves back in 2011, went back down, and the next time he surfaced, it was with the Cubs because he had Tommy John surgery in 2012. So we'll see about Mr. Vizcaino. Howie Kendrick has 2 hits. He's 2 for 4, and he's come up with some exceptional plays at third base. Lewis Coleman gets up in the bullpen for the Dodgers. A Rautis ready, and the 1-0 pitch missing. 2-0 the count to Howie. There's Coleman. Two balls and one strike. Braves scored 2 in the first inning, and the Dodgers came right back with 2. And then Dodgers scored 1 in the second, 4 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 3 in the seventh. That's going to go foul. Dodgers failing to score only in the 6th inning. For the Braves, they had their 2 in the first inning, then scored a run in the 6th and 2 in the 8th. Braves made a deal. They sent Javier Vizquel and Boone Logan to the Yankees, and they got Vizcaino, along with Melky Cabrera, a left-hander named Michael Dunn, and about $500,000 in cash. Then the Braves send Vizcaino to the Cubs. Then the Braves sent an infielder to the Cubs, getting Vizcaino back. Fly ball, shallow right. It's put away. So Markakis makes the catch. 1 out in the 8th inning. The paid attendance tonight, 47,950. 47,950. Many of whom have decided the game has long been over, and they've decided to head home. However, Damon and Pythias are still here with their little fans. You look at them and you think of what they must be dreaming, looking at the players. That's just great. Got his knapsack. Dad says, put your hat back on. Faces in the crowd. Boy, what a big swing by Peterson. Oh, there you go. The ballet working on the bar. Wonderful. With a nice bow. Everything is wonderful. The game, though, not so good. Boy, Peterson swinging out of his shoes on those pitches. 2 down in the 8th inning.
Catcher number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
Yasmani Grandal coming up. Hit a 3-run home run in the 3rd inning. Otherwise, he struck out twice and walked. But that was a big blow. Dodgers scored 4 in the inning and kind of broke the game wide open. I don't think that hat fits. It's a little small. Yeah, I mean, it's you. There's no doubt about that. That's definitely you. But it just doesn't fit. That's a strike. 1-1. One ball and one strike. Check swing, a little roll to third. Garcia will throw the ball into the grandstand. So Grandal will go to second on a 2-base error on a check swing. You know, one thing, and we pointed it out, the Atlanta Braves infielders have had a terrible day for inactivity. I mean, they've just been kind of standing around all day. We didn't have a ground ball to pick up until 2 out in the 4th inning. And in the 6th inning, it was a bonanza. There were actually 2 ground balls. But otherwise, it's been pretty frustrating for them. And when you do that, you wind up standing back on your heels. Hard to concentrate. So here's Hernandez. Homered, doubled, out at the plate. 0-1. Kike 2 for 4. Hitting behind him is Austin Barnes. And that's squirted to first base. The feed coming over and the play. So Vizcaino gets the put out. The play goes 3-1. Dodgers are done in the 8th with an error and nothing more. And we're heading for the 9th. 12-5 Dodgers. Dodgers. Lewis Coleman comes in to become the 5th Dodger pitcher. Kazmir went 5. Scott had to come out with a cramp in the quadriceps. So Kazmir stands to be the winner. He'll be 5-3. Followed to the mound by Howell, Fiend, Hatcher, and now Coleman. The Braves will have their first baseman, Brandon Snyder, finishing up for Freddie Freeman. So Snyder, Smith, and Arno, and if anybody gets aboard, Inciarte. In fact, in Smith's spot, that's where Vizcaino is, so if they get there, they'll hit for him. Snyder struck out in the 7th, 0 for 1. Coleman with a chance to give you that so-called jelly leg. Hard to stay in there when a guy's throwing by way of third base. Coleman is 6'4", 205-pounder out of Mississippi. And that's fouled away. The most fearsome sidearm pitcher I ever saw. And I say it was the most fearsome because Pee Wee Reese told me he was the only pitcher who actually scared him. Ewell Blackwell with the Cincinnati Reds many years ago. But he was terrifying. They check. No swing. Brandon Snyder, born in Las Vegas, lives in Gainesville, Virginia. And hammers it to left. That has a chance to go. It is gone in the Dodger bullpen. So for Brandon Snyder, we'll check and see if that could possibly be his first major league home run. Well, he only had 2 at-bats with the Braves. He'll go back and, well, he played with a lot of ball clubs, so no, he's had at least 3 with Texas. No, forget it. So Snyder hits it out. It's now 12-6.
That's hitter number 14, Danny Castro.
Danny Castro, who played last night, now hitting in the top spot Batting for Vizcaíno, the pitcher. Castro batted 8th last night. Walked, flied to left, grounded to short. "12-6 Dodgers, 9th inning. Yeah, wake up, wake up. Come on. There's a rally. That sums up a lot today. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Daniel Alejandro Castro. And another lullaby. Castro's from Sonoma in Mexico. Two and two. Three runs charged, 2 against Hatcher, 1 against Coleman in the last 2 innings. Slap foul down the line. Castro is about 5'11", 170, 23 years old. He'll be 24 in November. As we mentioned, he's from Mexico. Figured to be a pretty good utility infielder. Just did get a little of that. Kind of hurt his right hand a little bit. Two balls, 2 strikes. And that's hit in the air to left field. Kike goes back to pick it off. One out here in the 9th inning. 1 run in. Dodgers lead 12-6. If you're wondering about the Giants, their game will start in about 40 minutes. They're back in St. Louis. Jake Peavy will be on the mound for the Giants, who lead the Dodgers technically right now by 4. It'll either revert to 4.5 or drop to 3.5. Again, the Dodgers are trying what good clubs do, beat up on the bad clubs. And they're in a stretch. 16 games, 13 of them are against teams under 500, with the exception of the Giants, whom they'll see next weekend. Little foul out of play. 47,950, enjoying a very pleasant afternoon. Maybe you make your plans and join us tomorrow night. Maybe Tuesday night you want to see Urias, or Wednesday night. Bring the kids too. They're always welcome. Hey, Dad, let me have the glove. Foul ball. 1-2 the count to Chase Darno. Double to left, fly to center, grounded to third, fly to center again. Darno 1 for 4. In the 3 games, he's played shortstop twice, second base once. Braves, of course, have Eric Ibar, remember? But Ibar is on the DL. 2-2. Gee, Eric Ibar out of the Dominican came up to the Angels all the way back in 2006. Wonderful player of no use on the DL. And that's lifted to shallow left. Kike is there. So we are down to the last out.
Center fielder number 11, Ender Inciarte.
Ender Inciarte, who with a lot of maneuvering is hitting in the 3rd spot, occupied by Freddie Freeman. The Braves will have some time on their hands Nice drive down to San Diego, and they'll play the Padres 3 and then go home to play the Cubs and the Reds. Little ground ball. This ought to do it. Austin Barnes picks it up, and that mercifully is that. For the Dodgers, 12 runs, 14 hits, no errors. For the Braves, 6 runs, pecking away. They wound up with 12 hits and 1 error. Whistler the loser, Kazmir the winner, and without a doubt, I guess you'd have to give the player of the game to Corey Seager again. 2 more home runs in a single. He had 5 home runs in the 3 games against the Atlanta Braves. So the Dodgers now will wait to see how the Giants come out in St. Louis, and when they take the field tomorrow, they will either be trailing by 4.5 or 3.5. Hope you'll join us tomorrow. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody.